now we have set up our primitives. One thing I'm going to start doing is, remember in the beginning of this whole thing that we're doing, right? I said that it's important that we start documenting things as we go. Now, the reason why we start to document things as we go is purely for the reason of the fact that many other people will be using our system, and people are using our system who are not even in a design team, right? And they're not even in a development team. Say, for example, people in a social media team, they need to be able to look at what they're doing so they can create content, and they should know they're using the right colors, they need to know they're using the right fonts, they need to know they're using the right motion values, X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. So rather than creating everything and then coming back at the end to start documenting things, two things will happen. One, you'll literally be so much out of steam that you won't be bothered to really document this properly. And secondly, again, you'll just be so disheartened because you've done so much work and you can't even remember some of the things or why you put some of the things together. So it's important that as we go, we carry on documenting as we go. Now, the documentation doesn't have to be perfect off the bat, but we at least need to get it to a place, a really good foundational place that we can come back and then start tweaking. So I'm going to close our system down, and we have our colors. I've got rid of the other colors that we had before, simply because, they don't exist anymore, right? So one of the things I will like to do is to start laying these colors out. And I'm looking at these and I'm thinking one thing that we can do that would be really cool and really interesting and also very useful for other users is I want to start to create color pairs. So as we create color pairs, for example, this Mocha 500 goes with Mocha 100. I put the grays together. I put snow and dark blue together. What we're telling people is, and obviously sunshine stays by itself because it's only a lone color for now. What we're telling our people who are consuming this system is you can use these colors together. So we're saying it without even saying it. Does that make sense? So we're saying that we can, put these reds together. You can use these reds together in the example of the toast I presented to you. We can use all of these together. And I want to kind of lay that out in a nice, beautiful frame so people can actually look at it at a glance. So, and this is the first stage of our documentation. We're going to now document the purpose of our colors and the colors that we actually have in our system. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a frame. I'm going to create a 1920 by 1080 frame. So ultimately, this is going to be the template for all of our documentation. Any assets, any components we create, we're going to put them in frames, and we're going to at least fix the frame width. So we're going to keep it 1920 just to ensure that all the width is consistent. So no matter what's going in here, it's going to have to kind of fit somehow. Later on, I'll create this into an auto layout frame where the height will be in the hug setting. So therefore, it will keep getting longer according to the content, but the width will always be fixed. So we're going to name our first frame color. And one of the things I like to do as well is I like to create titles. So we have titles for our frames. So I'm going to create one title. I'm going to create a title component I'm going to eventually stick into the page components page. So the first one I'm going to create is a title, and I'm going to call that title. We're going to use our primary font will be Readability. Let's give that a text size of, let's just say 64. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm going to assign a color. So I can't remember if I actually went over how we assign colors here, but again, we're going to click on the start button and we're going to assign King's Blue 500 to that. Cool. We're going to also make sure this is auto width, so the text expands, and then we're going to create a descriptions layer as well. So I'm going to name it that title. I'm going to name this description. Again, just mean labeling my layers because it's important. I've labeled the wrong one, but fine. We could just move that there. Okay, so blush out the sound, and we're going to create this as pretty much standard font that we're going to read. So that'll be 16. And then I'm going to make this a gray 500. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Let's kind of put the placeholder copy there in. Cool. So now I've done that, I'm going to create this into auto layout frame. So I'm going to press Shift and A. I'm going to give this a nice decent spacing. Let's just say 40 pixels. Yeah, that will work. Let's see how that looks like on the page. Yeah, maybe 32. Yeah, 32 might do it right now. Okay, cool. Now we created that, and then I'm going to create this into a component. So we're going to call this, we're going to call the component, first of all, title plus description. And I like to use these because, again, they're very useful for when we're documenting things. So we have the actual assets that we're going to use, but also we have documented assets as well. So we're going to create that. And one, because I want to create a sub one earlier on as well. And obviously, because we're not going to export this in our other design files, we're going to add a period or full stop just before it. And then we're going to press Command, Alt, and K. That will create and make it a component. Phantasmal. Okay, from there, I'm now going to create my properties because you always need properties. I definitely need properties. So I'm going to create a title property. So I'll just plug in the title from this panel instead. Yep. And then I'll create a descriptions property as well. Oh, one button. Descriptions property. Add a plus, call it descriptions. Cool. All right. I think what I'm going to do off the battery, I'm going to make this frame an actual auto layout frame. So again, Shift A, and I'm going to give it some padding all around. And I kind of like the idea of 108 all around. So one way of doing it is we can literally plug the values in. Some of you other guys who are more about their shortcuts, you can literally press Shift and Alt, click on this, and we can just put this, change this figure up here to 108 all around. And that will literally put the padding all around the frame automatically like that. And I'm thinking obviously of the spacing within this as well. I'm just going to add 64 pixels worth of spacing. Okay, so that's how I want my frame to look. So anything that we're going to put in here is going to fit in this frame. I also want to make a head. I want to create another title title description component, because what I want to do is I want to create sub pieces of content. So when we're, for example, we have, let's just say we're looking at our colors right now and they're on the page, and then we'll have, color as the main title of the overall thing with the description of what the color does in our system. And then I want subtitles effectively to describe these little pieces of information. So, we've got the brand colors, we've got the accents, we've got the functionals and the semantics. So with that, I'm going to Command, Alt, and B and break that component apart. I'm going to rename it to title plus description 2. And then all I'm going to do is literally just knock this font size down to, I don't know, 40. Yeah, 40. I'm going to close the gapping here, maybe 16. Yeah, perfect. All right, that works out for me. Actually, I think I'm going to make it 24. Yeah, I like that. 24 would be cool. So I leave that there. And then again, I'll turn that into a component. And then I'll take duplications of those two, and I'll take the originals, which are you, and I'll put that cut. I'll put that in the page right here. Boom. Now we've done that, we could therefore link it to the main part of the file. So go back to the library, and I'm going to make sure this is, I'm going to make them full width. Let's see. So because they're an auto layout frame, and we can talk about auto layout a bit later as well, but auto layout effectively is your CSS equivalent to Flexbox. Look that up, and we can discuss that a bit later as well. But I'm going to make that to fill the container. And because I'm thinking when this writing is actually when it's writing, it might go across the page. So what I might do actually is make this half of the page. So the maximum width this frame will go is half the page. So what's that? 1704. We're going to divide that by 2. I like to use as well the properties panel as a calculator as well. So I don't have to do manual math because they've built these wonderful features in for you. So just divide that by 2, and there you go. We automatically have half of that. And then so that's what 852. And I want the subtitle to be even half of this width as well. So we know that's 852. So all I'm going to do is plug in here 852 divided by 2. And that's 426. So actually, it might be useful to actually plug that into the main component itself. Yeah, that would even save us more time. So this measurement is 852 and 426. All right, so 852, let's go back to the main component, give that a fixed width of 852. Perfection, and we're going to give this a fixed width of 426. Cool. So now every time we use this component, it'll automatically be sized accordingly, and it will ensure that the heights are hugged, of course. That's good. We checked all that, and that works out perfectly fine. All right, perfection. Now we're going to name this one color, and I'm going to be cheeky here. I'm going to get the AI to create some placeholder content here about color. Again, like I said before, we'll go back and we'll change that and make it more customizable to our actual system that we're using. Okay, so AI, you are going to write a short paragraph describing the use of color in our design system and why we use color to tell stories in the digital experience of our brand. I don't care what it writes at this point in time. I just need placeholder copy. There we go. I don't like that line height actually. I'm going to change the line height. It's too tight. There we go. 28. Perfect. Cool. All right. So it's giving us something. In our design system, color plays a pivotal role in shaping our narrative, the brand experience. Yeah. Great stuff. Again, we're going to go back and we're going to change it because when we come back after finishing all our work, we'll be in the mode of writing things to make them sound nice, and we can get the AI again to help us craft these things and narrate it perfectly fine, or give it to the copy team to do. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is insert the colors. So I'm going to insert Kings 100 and Kings 500. So I'm going to create an auto layout frame at first, and this will be horizontally direction, and this will be the first row. So we call this row brand. Give me a second. Okay, we're going to call this auto layout group brand, and this will house the brand colors and all the elements that go into communicating what our brand colors are. So within that, I'm now going to create also a color pairing group. I'm going to group the colors. So within this, I'm going to create the pairs. So we're going to call this Kings 100 plus 500. And I think within that, I'm going to wrap that into another frame as well and call this row 1. Perfect. And now row 1, along with brand, will be filled across the page. And then I'm going to change the direction to this actually to vertical, because I'm going to now move the title into this frame here. Well, I'm going to copy, I'm going to paste it into this frame because it's moving a bit stubborn at the moment. And I think I'm going to make sure the spacing is, let's say 40. Yeah, 40 is decent. All right. So now I'm going to name the section. This is basically going to be the section title. I'm going to call this section title brand. Yeah. Cool. So we know that is. And I just realized I didn't put properties in this as well. So we're going to put properties in real quick. Okay. So we're going to name that as property. Going to call this title. Thank you all. And then we're going to click on that one and call this description. Perfect. And then we're going to go return to instance. And now we have properties to insert our text. So these are brand. And what I'm going to write in the description is, for brand, we're going to say, these are the brands. These are the brand's primary colors. Again, we could change this later on, but I need placeholder text. These are the brand's primary colors, used mainly for interactive elements and accents. I.E or E.G, for example, buttons. Cool, and I spelled interactive wrong. Interesting. Interreactive. All right, so we've got that sorted. And now we've got the pairs. Now I think in these pairs, do I want to do a bit more? Yeah, I want to do a bit more. So I'm going to quickly open up the material icons library and I'm going to get a plus icon. Ask me why I'm doing this. Again, I'm doing this because I just want there to be no confusion within what I'm doing. Does that make sense? So let's add that. I'm going to add that in. Perfect. In fact, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. 40. Perfect. And then I'm going to change that into a component because I'm going to reuse that multiple times. I'm going to add a dot to that. Going to duplicate it. And I'm going to take the original and stick it into the page components page. So I'm creating a whole lot of these components that we're going to use to kind of create our documentation as we go, as well as the rest of our components as well. Okay, I'm going to drop that into the pairing box. No, sometimes it doesn't drop straight away. Let me try that again. I'm going to press Command, drop it into the pairing box. There we go. So now we can see that these colors can be used together. So Kings 100 plus Kings 500. Do you know what? Let's assign a color to that as well. Do you know what? Maybe the mocha will come into good use here. Let me assign the mocha to it. Yeah, oh no, wrong one. Mocha. There we go. Perfect. Sweet. Like chocolate. All right, so that's in there. So we know that's a color pair. So where you see a plus, you can know you can use this and this together. Yeah, cool. And that will be row 1. Perfect. And that will be down. So basically the reason why I created the row 1 as well is because within that we house the pairs. But if we had more colors that we're going to see later on, we could simply just make sure row 1 actually is, yeah. In row 1, if we house more pairs, row 1 should be wrapped. So if we have more pairs, for example, we will just, let me run that again. So the reason why I've done this is because where we have rows, we're going to have different rows of different colors, right? So row will be ultimately filled, and then the actual pairs themselves will be hugged. I don't know what that is doing. So let's again bring that to like 24, what, maybe even 16 pixels. So therefore those pairs are together so we can see the pairs. Do you know what? I've changed my mind. I'm not doing the plus sign anymore. I think that might even make it look a little bit separate. So let's take that out. It's a creative process, guys. It's a creative process. Cool. So that'd be 16. So those pairs are now together. So you can see how these are close together. That will be a pair. So the reason why I created rows is because, again, we need to house the different colors that we have. So if we had more colors, that would just simply go there. And this is now just also made me, just told me that I need to increase the spacing. So let's give that 64. Cool. So we can see we're using the principles of proximity and spacing. So if they are close together, they are effectively related to each other. If there's a space, they're not related to each other. So that's what we're doing. And I'm happy with that. Yeah, cool. All right. So now let us do the rest for the rest of the colors. So now we've got brand in there. Now I'm going to do the accents as well. So I'm going to duplicate that. And this is where, again, I need to activate the hug on the height of the frame. So I'm going to go to the properties panel, hug contents, and then now we know that this page will always expand as we add more content. Okay. So now I'm going to add the accents in. Now with accents, I'm going to change out the accents, and I'm going to change this to section title, accents. You can see how very, very serious that I am when it comes to naming layers, because I think it's so important, honestly. I may be over the top, but I'd rather be over the top than under the top. You can make sense of that statement however you wish you to make that statement. Okay, so accent colors. What I'm going to write in here, I am going to write, let's see. These are the colors. Well, these are the brand's accent colors used to enhance the digital, well, maybe not digital, but the visual experience, e.g. module backgrounds. So let's say we have, I don't know, a drop down or a module of some format. We want to, decorate it with one of the backgrounds of these. This is where these colors will come into play. Module backgrounds. Cool. And then we're going to leave that as row 1. Let me move my head out of the way. And then we're going to click on this particular frame, and we're going to add the Mocha pairs in first. So we're going to change this to Mocha 100 and 500. And then I'm going to cut this, and I'm going to use the paste to replace function. So when I want to paste and replace something in particular, I click on the command, I tap on the command button, and then I click on the element I want, and I simply press command space and R, and that will paste that in and replace it, and also update the layer names as well. So we're going to do that same for 500. That's perfect. Now, Sunshine doesn't have a pair, so therefore Sunshine is going to be alone on this one. So we are going to take this particular frame, the Mocha frame, I'm going to duplicate it across, and I'm going to call this Sunshine 500. And then I'll get rid of this particular because we don't need that card. I'm going to take Sunshine, cut it, and paste to replace. So now we have our accent colors already in place as well. Perfect. You can kind of see how this page is even looking very, very, very beautiful, very sexy, very, very put together. I just realized I don't like the line height of this, so I'm going to go back to the component and then quickly adjust it. So go back to the frame. I'm going to give this a line height of 24. Let's see how that looks. Perfect. I'm happy with that. Great. It just gives it a bit more, visual harmony. So with this brand, this accents, we got the color pairs. I don't know. Should we space out the pairs a bit more, or should we bring in the pairs a bit more? Maybe we should bring in the pairs a bit more. Let me see, just so the pairs are a bit more pairing. So right now it's 16. Let's change it to 8. Yeah, I think that's better. So we can see that they're real pairs. All right, perfect. Cool. Now we're done with accents. Now we're going to do the functionals. So again, same thing. We're going to copy over. We're going to start renaming things. Functional. And I think maybe we should make it even more clear and say colors as well. Brand colors, accent colors, functional colors. Again, I'm very much about things being very simple, and let's not overcomplicate things if they don't need to be as well. And for this one, I'm going to write here. These functional colors play a vital role in crafting major components that will be used in this system, I guess, and beyond, e.g. typography. Can I spell it? Yep, typography, and text fields. Boom. Done. I don't know why I've added that. I wasn't meant to press that. But cool. All right, so we've got that. And now the same thing we're going to do is we're going to take the pairs. So we've got 2 pairs here in terms of dark blue with snow, and we've got grey 300 and grey 500. So again, I'll change that to section title functional. And it feels like we're doing a lot of work, guys, but trust me, once we do this legwork, our lives further on in the project, where we get into the meat of the project, where we're actually putting the pages together, will be so much easier. I promise you. Put the work in, man. Put the work in. Okay. So, we don't need, yeah, you know what, let's be efficient in the way we use that. So I'm going to call this dark blue 500 plus snow 200. That's a pair. I'm going to take that, cut, paste to replace, duplicate that, take snow, cut, and paste to replace. No, Siri, I didn't say anything. Doesn't that annoy you when Siri just like starts eavesdropping on your conversations? Like, I didn't say anything, Siri. Siri needs to relax. Okay, where were we? Okay, so we've done dark blue and we've done snow, and now we're going to do the grey. So we're going to call this grey 300, basically grey dot 300 plus 500. Perfect. Happy with that. We're going to cut that, and we're going to, that's right, paste to replace. I said this before in another video, like when you're doing work like this, get some music on, get a cup of tea, get a cup of coffee, a nice beverage, and just, just work through it, because it's a labor of love, really. It's really a labor of love. Okay, now we're going to do the semantics. And then we're going to now, I think change that to functional. Functional. Perfect. Okay. Now we're going to change this to semantics. Perfect. And in the semantics section, just made some notes here. In the semantics section, we're going to call it, of course, semantic colors. Semantic colors. And then we're going to say, what's our right colors? Semantic colors. And then we're going to say, these are system colors responsible why can I not spell properly? Responsible, I can spell properly. My fingers are typing faster than my brain at the moment. Colors. Okay. These colors are responsible for giving the user the necessary feedback on their operations. E.g., user has entered a wrong email address. Error. Yeah, cool. Again, we'll make sense of this. We'll probably tidy it up later on. But now we're going to fit the semantic colors into this frame, and then we'll literally have our first documented page. Okay, let's go. So success is first. So we're going to take that layer. We're going to call this success 100 plus 500. Paste to replace. Paste to replace. You're going to take info as well. Do you know what? Let's just take this. Copy or cut. Paste to replace. Cut. You can see how quick we're doing this as well, because it's such a repetitive task. Paste to replace. Okay. And then info, let's go. So we call this info 100 and 500. The next thing we're going to do is warning. Warning. Perfect. And then we'll take the warning colors, that's 100. Paste to replace. Cut. Paste to replace. And then we're going to duplicate this. Now, we've reached the end of this frame basically. Nothing's going to fit in this frame again. So what did I say we're going to do? We're going to use the wrap feature, which is what I've done. So by incorporating the wrap into this frame, it's going to ensure that it will literally just go to another line. So therefore we can keep some form of harmony. And it's also perfectly worked out equal spacing of 64 as well. So we've got 64 both vertically and horizontally. Well, these pairs, I just noticed, are not the same as the others. So let's correct that. I'm going to change that to 8. Perfect. Cool. And then we'll change this to error 100 plus 500. Take that, cut, paste to replace, cut, paste to replace. Nope. Behave yourself. Paste to replace. There you go. Now, guys, we have now officially created our first piece of documentation in our system. So not only have we created the colors, we've now created documentation for it as well. So now anyone who takes a piece into our system can see that we've been very, very tidy in the way we present the information and how we want our assets to be used. Now this is perfect. We've got this out of the way now. Now we're going to use this frame as a template for all our other things. So for example, when we're doing buttons, we're just simply going to duplicate it and, you know, customize everything that's in that as well. So we'll see that we have, you know, very consistent pages across the whole thing. And again, we're also building that look and feel of our consistency, and we're showing that we're actually very clean in the way we present information. This is how we build trust with clients and other members in our team, because we know about how important documentation is. So now we've laid it out. We're going to jump back into our variables panel, and now we're going to create our color tokens. And now this is where the magic is going to happen. And I'm going to show you that to you in the next video, just after I take a quick break. But yeah, hold tight.